Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and what a start it has been to the Aussie Crypto Convention. Some outstanding speakers so far. My name is Paul Hazelby. I'm a former professional athlete and now a sports media broadcaster over in Western Australia, but also very passionate about the crypto industry and SplitChain and Zucoins, which we're about to get into. Today, it is my pleasure to moderate a conversation with three experts in the wide-ranging and ever-evolving world of the crypto and payment industries. I'm excited to be able to bring these three people on stage for what I think is best described under the theme, the next generation crypto has arrived. So let's get into it. Our panel members, as we just heard, Allan Endresz has been involved in the global payments industry for over 20 years and is the founder of Zucoins. So put your hand up, Allan. There he is. Sam Volkering, he's the editor of Exponential Investor, the author of Crypto Revolution, Bitcoin, Cryptocurrency and the Future of Money. In addition to his editorial work, Sam is an advisor to many exciting new crypto projects, including Zucoins. So Sam, thank you. And Marte Takai is the last one, began Bitcoin mining way back in 2013 using a custom-built ASIC miner. In 2013, he also founded the media company Bitcoinist.com, and after a successful exit in 2015, Marte met Roger Ver, commonly referred to as the Bitcoin Jesus, and together they founded Bitcoin.com, and is also an advisor with Zucoin. So Allan, Sam, Marte, thanks for coming in. And I know Marte and Sam have also flown in just to be here for this occasion. So I'll start with you guys since you travelled the furthest, but you have been around the industry for a long time. Can you just give us a bit better of an understanding of some of the problems and issues that you've experienced in your time in the game?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. So I do want to answer your question, but I guess just to begin with, I usually try to look at the bright side of things. So I guess I would look at it as twofold, right? One is for the newcomers and the newbies and sort of the average Joes to navigate within the industry. Right now, there are about 6,000 projects listed on CoinMarketCap. That basically 6,000 tokens. So anyone coming into the industry wanting to invest and buy these cryptocurrencies, they have to navigate among these projects. And like if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street and you know about blue chip stocks, penny stocks, so-called, then this industry is pretty much very similar to that. So people have a hard time to find what the right project is. All the projects have some sort of marketing, but like most of them can be scams or most of them can be bad, with bad intentions. So that can be number one, to basically navigate within the industry. And number two is eventually you have to be technical. To navigate within the projects as well. So what sort of blockchains are we talking about? Or in our case, we're talking about split chain technology. How do the transactions work? How do you back up the wallet? How do you restore the wallet? And all kinds of things. Like being to be your own bank comes with a great responsibility, right? So if you have your bank account, then you lose the password to the internet banking, you're just going to call customer service and they're going to give it back to you. If you lose your private key or you lose your hardware wallet and whatnot and you don't have the seed phrase, then that's it, the money is gone. So on one hand, it's great to be independent and be your own bank, but on the other hand, it comes with a bunch of responsibility as well. So all in all, I see these two problems there.
Yeah, look, for me, having seen the evolution of this entire industry over the last 12 years now, the thing that I think people probably struggle with more now is the base understanding of what we're really talking about when we talk about cryptocurrencies or digital assets or crypto, whatever definition you want to use. Is a lot of people still kind of seed their knowledge on the basis that there is only one answer to a lot of the world's problems. I think what you need to fundamentally know is that the way in which humanity transacts and we socially interact is fundamentally broken by the traditional financial system. And so what crypto networks provide is a way out of a fractured, broken system from centralized control. And that's really the core of why Bitcoin existed. It's the core ethos of why cryptocurrencies exist, is to find a way out of a system that fundamentally is broken in a decentralized way now. Now, what that also means is that this is all very new, and people still think that blockchain is the only answer to crypto technologies. But what we're talking about is we're talking about networks. Everything you think you know about crypto boils down to a couple of key aspects, and we're just talking about how people interact and transact with each other, whether it's financially, whether it's your data, whether it's any kind of value, be it physical or digital, how we can move that value around with each other on a global scale. And while there are different ways that we can try and achieve that, there is no just one size fits all solution. So it's not just about blockchain. There's so many other ways that you can implement this kind of value transfer and transaction that people need to open their minds a little bit more and realize that we are talking about networks. So the best networks that can achieve that ability to easily, seamlessly transact with each other, low cost, get rid of all the frictions and broken nature that we face in the traditional financial system. Whatever network can achieve that, that's the sort of thing that's going to move our world forward.
Alan, I'll get to you. I know blockchain has become embedded in the vernacular of many industries, but as we've just heard, there's not yet a cryptocurrency that has solved the blockchain trilemma. And as the founder of Zucoins, you and your team are unveiling what you believe is the new solution, the split chain. Can you give the audience a summary of what split chain is, why it's unique, and how it came to be?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Firstly, thank you all to the Zucoinists, the hard-ass supporters for many years. So let's thank you for that. And for those that don't know me, there's a lot of friction in the crypto industry, as you've just heard. And the first big friction you'll find with Zucoins is that some people would say I'm infamous or famous, but either way, if you don't like me, you don't want it, Zucoins is not for you. So that's the first point. So just have a look at the background there. Having said that, I've always been fascinated in the journey, obviously, with digital payments and having been involved in that industry. And crypto really got my attention as early as 2010, 2011. But when you look at this space and what Marte indicated, particularly about the frauds and the risks and the way the industry's going, that was always going to be a big problem for what we wanted to do to change the way Bitcoin evolved, and particularly Ethereum. Now, he's not in the room, I don't think now, but you'll certainly see him around. Robert Novak really is the amazing genius, the CTO of our organisation, that we stepped down in 2018 and said, how can we solve the problems of the blockchain and the evolution of that, much more so in terms of the way the chain can be built upon, developers can come in and eliminate the scalability, the growth factor issue. On the same side, how can we dumb this down so that consumers of my age and older can actually enjoy the fruits of being in the crypto space without losing our money? And the young ones, you know, they get it. They know how to do the transactions, and a little bit blasé too if things happen in that regard. So we sit down, can we actually solve the blockchain trilemma? And what they talk about, it's a term that was evolved from Vitalik, the creator of Ethereum. And he said that the way you try and look at crypto, which is a digital asset, you need to solve scalability, you certainly need to look at security, and the last thing is decentralisation. That's a big word because we go on about the banking systems and the governments and the controls of your finances. Now, for all of the hype you hear between the blockchain on the one hand, Bitcoin, Ethereum on the other, it's getting far more concentrated in that it's becoming less decentralised. Now, why do I say that? For example, the merge that happened with Ethereum recently, there's now what they call two node validators. That's computers, if you like, that are trying to validate that you're real in terms of your crypto assets and transactions. And it's down to two concentrated parties now, Coinbase and Libo. 42% of the blocks are concentrated in the hands of two node controllers. That's not decentralisation. Now, Zucoins, on the split chain has evolved from a product called SplitLock. SplitLock is a unique, we've kept it in-house, we didn't release it commercially, but losing your data is a big thing. You're all here and you've been told about backups and storing and making sure everything's safe. What SplitLock did was actually broke data up into multiple millions of bits, stored them in different packets, and rendered it useless, that you couldn't actually steal anything other unless you could bring the data back together. Now, we store data around the world on different servers in packets, which you can't steal. Even our own staff can't steal that data. And we realised if we take that breaking down data concept, that's what we could do with split chain, which can lead to, obviously, building on top Zucoins. Now, just to give you an idea, just think about the world of crypto on building a highway. Now, you know, government goes and builds a big highway, 8 lanes each way, and we get use of that highway. Now, in Bitcoin's case, to get access to that highway, there's an entry point that you've got to, before you can even get on the highway, you've got to pay a huge toll, which will allow you to travel your car on that road. And the blockages from Bitcoin come from the miners. The miners are there purely and simply to try and validate something that's real. That is, no double spend, or that you're a real owner of coins, and the algorithms allow that to happen. But there's friction. You can't get on the highway unless those processes happen. Ethereum's a little bit better because you're looking at proof of stake, and there's a tollway. You go through the toll, you pay the toll, and all of a sudden you're on the network. But it doesn't necessarily mean you can expand the growth of that network, which is what they're having problems in introducing layer 2 programs to build on top. Robert's technology is world first, world class, a completely new, fresh approach to that network, that highway. And what he's done is he's realised that you don't need to store 20 years of data in blocks for people to go back and search the history as you do in Bitcoin. We realised that you actually only need the last 2 transactions that you're conducting. And the secret sauce is everybody in this room has enough firepower in your phones to store the transactions you want to do, which are digital assets. So, for example, Marte and I conduct transactions on Zucoins. He might have 50,000 transactions. I've got 50,000. There's only 4 transactions contained in the nodes that can manage and monitor that what we do between each other is real. We don't have 12, 15 years of data blocks that require small countries' electricity to mine to prove what we're doing between each other. That is the flip side of what is the uniqueness of split chain. So, for example, if we've been testing today downloads of wallets. The idea is that you've got to reduce friction for everybody to be involved, young, old, or whatever. If you go out today and go to MetaMask and get a wallet, it's a friggin' nightmare. You go outside here, you download it with a QR code, you will get an instant wallet with 2 clicks. Your wallet is up and running. That means we've got globalization that can expand our scalability. We could drop 1 million wallets tomorrow and you'll get 1 million people with a wallet. The next stage, and even with that million, if they conduct massive transactions, again, there's only 2 transactions per wallet sitting on the nodes. And the incredible thing about the nodes, we're not talking about massive computer power sitting there chewing up energy. We're talking about literally very small cache of information, 2 transactions that can sit with a plug and play on any website in the world. And that's spectacular. You will not see that in the crypto space today. The next thing is, how do we dumb this down so you don't lose your wallets? Because the first thing everybody says when they lose a Zucoin is Allan's a fraud. Now, you know, they've called me a lot of worse names over the journey if you look me up on the internet, but fraud, you know, there you go. But what it turns out to be, you've got to dumb down the access to the wallet. You've then got to dumb down the ability that you can share that amongst each other with the addresses. And we've introduced the world's first 2-factor authentication on transfers. Now, anybody that's played with crypto, you've got someone's address, you send a coin in Bitcoin, goes to the wrong address, and you will lose the coin. It goes into the ether. You cannot lose a Zucoin with our 2-factor transfer between 2 peers. I can tell you now, you go out and try it out there and play with it, play with the coins, because even with a drop down in wireless application or your phone drops out, the reality is the network will reboot and restore the transaction balance, because it's only holding the last balance and the last 2 transactions. If Marte does 50,000 transactions and he's backed up the wallet, and he does another 1 million transactions and he loses the wallet, he will always still have the balance restored minus the transactions he's sitting on. The next step was back up and restore. We've dumbed that down. Put the thing on USB, put it in cloud, encrypt it yourself. We don't want to be encrypting anything because that's centralising. Our wallet is PWA, which means it's a progressive web app. It's not in the iStore, it's not in the Google Store. Why? Because they can shut your wallets down. This is a complete self-independent decentralised wallet. It cannot be shut down. The nodes are independent. They cannot be shut down. The transactions, you are controlling the transactions between each other. You know where the recipient is. We're building out a Zubot now, which is about expediting the process direct to merchants and exchanges, etc. But I guess finally, Paul, on that, what I'm getting at is that because we don't have the weight of storing data through big blockchains, and I might just press this point, if you think of the transaction between Marte and I, that creates, say, a brick. Let's call it a brick of a transaction. That goes into a wall, and that's why the wall gets bigger and higher in blockchain and even in Ethereum. In our case, there's always only the one brick. That's it. So scalability will not be an issue for developers to come in. The transactions are free. There's fractions. You can send 0.01 millionth of a Zucoin anywhere in the world, 24/7. There's no transaction fees. People can build on our chain. We're inviting developers. We're inviting NFTs. We call them UDAs because they're far more secure than the current NFT world. We're inviting smart contracts. Why? Because this will be the true world open source, new native split chain protocol that will allow this to happen. But from a consumer end, you're going to get comfort for the first time that I'm not going to go to jail because you're going to say you're losing coins because there's fraud issues. It reduces the effect of that, reduces near zero emissions from carbon, and it's pretty exciting stuff. So that's the essence of what we got. Our staff are out there to explain that, and certainly Robert, on a high-level tech level, will share with you the incredible system that's been built. Thank you.
So to be clear, it is a new technology, isn't it, built from the ground up, layer one solution that has been built. So not blockchain. It requires people to get their head around something different that has just been released in the industry. Now, we know it's all about utility, and you mentioned some of the use cases there, but what do you envisage in the future as some of those use cases?
Well, let's just take an NFT. You know, someone dreams up an idea, takes a nice photo shot, says they've created an NFT, and they produce that on Ethereum. And there's a cost there because you just can't produce these things without the gas fees. Could be $500. Someone can come along to the split chain network. They can create those NFTs. I'm involved with the horse racing industry. So we're looking at creating, and there is a bit of this happening now, but not to the scale of protecting that asset. So for example, my horse is alligator blood. If you look at the racing industry, you can create a virtual alligator blood, the horse. It can be tied in with smart contracts that every time the real horse wins races, then there's monies that's paid to the owners of the NFTs. But the split chain gives you much more certainty of ownership of that particular NFT in the way in which the smart contract worked and the data fragmentation. It's a higher level than just saying I own that picture of the horse, and it effectively gives you the ownership in terms of the Ethereum network, but it points to someone else's server that's storing it. What happens in our world, it's sitting on your phone. You are in possession of that NFT. We're calling them UDAs to distinguish it, unique digital assets. That's a user case that expands itself into potentially billions of people making these things themselves. We're not interested in making money out of it. We want to see that the network takes off and allows people to do this because there are no gas fees. There are no fees and transactions to miners. I mean, if you look at the user cases, Paul, think about Bitcoin. It's going along nicely at the moment because the miners are incentivised to earn coins. What happens when they run out of coins to earn? Will a miner sit there spending tens of thousands of dollars electricity bills to process a $3.50 or $10 transaction fee so you can transfer between Bitcoin wallets? That's where the future's heading in that sector, and they can't scale. We can. Augmented reality. Our businesses are involved in some of the incredible augmented reality things. So if you look at that QR code, we've actually got that we can drop millions of spinning Zucoins, and if anybody's interested, I've got one on the phone you can have a look at. Anywhere in the world, 24/7. You press the coin, you put it in your wallet, and you download the wallet with a coin in it and start transacting. So that lends us to virtual real estate, because people can go hunting and collecting these things. We know the geo-mapping, and money can be paid to the owners of that virtual real estate. What we're trying to do is I see a couple of young blokes here, they'll be right across Metaverse and all the excitement sitting there playing games 24/7. But we're trying to get you out of looking into a computer, and we bring the computerverse world, we call it Neoverse, into your real world. So my son could show you today, for example, portals that could take you to West Australian football games in this room. You don't need the computer to play in the metaverse. And you can play your own games in there, boys. You can create your own stuff on the blockchain, on the split chain. So that's the sort of user cases, Paul.
I'll get back to you, Sam and Marte. You guys have been involved with a few different projects across your time. You've been in the industry a long time. Why Zucoins for you guys? What attracted you to Zucoins?
Yeah, so when I first heard about Bitcoin back in 2013, eventually I got fascinated by the technology. When I first talked with Allan, I felt the same thing. I got fascinated by the split chain technology. But I guess other than the technology itself, what's very, very important is the team behind the project. So in many cases, the team is even more important than what the project is about, right? So we could see this in the 2017 ICO craziness. There were many great projects, but they failed. And they failed because the team was not good enough to deliver. In Zucoins' case, I definitely believe in the team, and I think it's a great combination to have a great team and a great project. So I guess those two things got me very excited about it. So,
from my point of view, interestingly, somewhat similar to Marte, is when I first sort of discovered Bitcoin back in 2011. It was sort of the anarchist inside me that was like, hey, this is great. This is a pushback against a system. Like my background in education's in traditional finance and financial advice. And it was a pushback against centralized control and authority over a monetary system that was fundamentally broken. And so I got then down the rabbit hole of understanding the technology, and then over the next decade watched how it's evolved. And I mean, just the fact that we're here today is astonishing, that in such a short space of time, this is where we're at. And so when I first started talking with the team, with Allan and Robert and the guys, when Robert started to explain to me that they were building effectively a layer one network, a brand new network, and this comes back to what I was saying earlier about the idea that we are fundamentally using new networks to communicate and get rid of all those frictions and problems that we face with centralized systems. When Robert started to explain that to me, and I got to understand what he was building, what the team was building, and the team behind it, and the potential that it had to eliminate a lot of those problems that we do face in these centralized networks, it was a sort of like that initial awakening I had when I first discovered Bitcoin. And for me, it was just like, yeah, I want to be able to help. I want to be able to provide my experience and expertise in the sector to help them and help the team find a way so that people can understand that this isn't a blockchain. This isn't built on Ethereum. This is a completely new network, a completely new way of looking at how we can move value around. There's some of the things Al was talking about just now. These are new concepts, even for people that think that they know about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. They need to open their mind a bit more to understand that we are looking at an entire new network. And then, again, with what Robert's been able to build and the team around him as well, when developers start to see how easy that can be and what they can then achieve on the network itself, I think people are going to get really excited by the potential that it holds.
Allan, I might just get you to finish up talking about, obviously, the Zucoins. They are the first application to go onto the split chain. If somebody wants one in the room, how do they get one and how do they go about it?
Yeah, look, just help yourself. Look at the QR code. Just follow the two simple instructions, download the wallet. I would be staggered if anybody in this room couldn't download our wallet. I give you 20 coins if you can't. Don't just make that up, by the way, but you need to see the wallet. But so the wallet download and then go to the team. We've manually wanting people to get their coin from the team because we want to see what the experience is in that regard. We have you'll see a 90-second time clock. We can have that lesser time, but we've set that because we have people with Zucoin wallets in their late 80s. So no disrespect you young blokes, but they're well ahead of the game with you on this, I can tell you. So we want people to, there's a bit of copy and paste stuff to make that happen. So get that experience. And of course, the staff are there to help with that. So the Zucoin, plenty of information on the website, a lot of technical stuff if you need to. But just remember, our mandate is millions of people can get a wallet. You can experience that. We want people to be able to share their address. The address is the wallet address, which is no big deal in the contacts. Send and receive coins or fractions. If you've got a mate you want him to enjoy the coin, you don't want to give him one coin because he's not worth it. You give him 0.0001 of a coin. So you'll see how that goes. And I think basically then you'll see the viral effect of what we've been able to achieve with that, Paul. So that's the coin.
Going to throw it open now to anybody in the room. If you do have any questions that you want to divert towards these guys, now is your time.
Yeah, I was just wondering, with only storing 2 transactions, are there any issues with security that come along with that?
Yeah, good question. So if you, as you understand with the Bitcoin, the blockchain storing the entirety of the data. What Robert's achieved is you're only storing the last 2 transactions in a balance, but it's cached. So the purpose of our nodes is to simply allow the peers, when they're conducting, to seek the truth of that stored data. So the nodes can't do anything with it. It's of no value in any sense. Even if someone steals that, it's not an issue, which is why we can scale up to millions of nodes, because all they're doing is just storing the transaction data, which is of no use to anybody, other than the peers that need to seek the truth to say, yes, this is real, in order to complete the transaction.
Any other questions from the room?
Well, I actually, since I've been a bit older, I have been a lot more sleep. The man that hasn't had the sleep is Robert. Robert's absolute pure genius, but he works long hours late, as he's done for 3.5 years. So, but yeah, I do get some sleep.
Got one over here. One of the banes of all this cryptocurrency is tax. So if you're not storing all the transactions, how do we collect it all to save ourselves that pain?
Yeah, another good question. So you may remember I said that every individual phone is actually the store of your own transactions. So if you go back in my old days as an accountant, we used to store our own data, or cash books and receipts and invoices. It's in your phone. Now, if you want to be naughty, you can delete all your transactions, go and buy that big house in the Riviera, and then have the tax office come up your ass. So it's about responsibility of each individual owner of the data and the phone, which is why you store that. You can download that data, you've got CSV file, etc. to do that. If you inadvertently delete it, certainly those transactions will be missing because you're only going to restore to the correct balance in the last 2 transactions. I accept that. But this is about decentralisation. This is about not ringing up the bank when someone's fraudulently used your credit card and you get a refund, or the merchant's got risks and frauds and has to pay it to the banks. This is about self-responsibility and pure decentralisation. And with that comes a great responsibility. As far as tax goes, you look at crypto, you get plenty of advice, but certainly hold it long term, 12 months, generally you've got your CGT, about 24.5 cents in the dollar. Australia is quite unique actually on the tax, just quickly. If you transact directly between yourself, your coins, and a merchant that accepts the coins, which is our big project in the future, less than $10,000 per transaction is tax-free. It's personal use of the coin. If you convert it to fiat, you'll trigger an event which will be a tax issue. You will not do that if you do direct coin to merchant. So our mission globally is that we can give these little bots and merchants can accept it.
Any other last questions? Well, let's give him a round of applause. Allan Endresz, Sam Volkering, Marte Takai.